NFL Sunday Ticket is now on YouTube and YouTube TV, which means that you can stay close to your team even if you don't live in their town. Like, maybe you're a Raven who married a Seahawk who got a job in the land of the Falcons. With NFL Sunday Ticket, you can watch your team's out-of-market Sunday afternoon games no matter where you live, because you shouldn't have to change teams even if you change towns. NFL Sunday Ticket, now on YouTube and YouTube TV. Go to youtube.com/presale to get $50 off.
Terms and embargoes apply. Offer ends 9/19. No refund. Subscription auto renews.
Ducks and Beavers open the season right. Still no movement in the Blazers Lillard saga. And Brenna Greene has a secret plan for her Beyonce excursion that she won't reveal to me personally until we get the podcast rolling. So let's do that on the Sports.
Let's talk about it on the pod. We got to save it for the pod.
On the Sports by Northwest podcast. I'm Aaron Fentress of the Oregonian and OregonLive, and I'm joined by KOIN 6's Brenna Greene as always. Brenna, what up? How you been?
Man, we have rolled through the first week of college football. We are here. It was, let me tell you, this is things that people don't think about, So, high school football Friday. I did not leave the office until 12:45 when I got done with everything, putting stuff on social media, that sort of stuff for high school football. I then couldn't sleep because, of course, you can't sleep after you do that. Your adrenaline's pumping. So I didn't fall asleep because, you get home at like 1. You kind of try to wind down, but for me, it normally takes me about an hour and a half to 2 hours. But, of course, because I knew I had to sleep, it was worse. So I didn't go to sleep until like 3:30.
Yikes.
I had to, we were worried about traffic going down to Eugene. So we're like, well, let's meet at 7 because the game's at noon. It could take 3 hours. You never know what's going to happen. Yep. Blah, 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 blah. You know that drill.
Oh, yeah.
And, and so, first of all, definitely had my alarm go off. I set everything out. Thank God I did this. I set everything out and was like, okay, we're gonna be fine. We're just going to wake up in the morning, slip on what you want to wear, and boogie on out of there. Let's do it, right?
Right.
Well, my alarm goes off. I mute it, thinking that I'm awake. Turns out I'm not awake. I woke up again at 7:20. Oh. Thank God it was only 20 minutes past when we were supposed to leave. Slipped everything on, got out the door, met my photog down the street, and we actually got down to Eugene by 9:15. We were probably parked by like 9:40-ish, but we were off the freeway at 9:15. It took us less than 2 hours to get there, which is crazy for a game day.
Yeah, it is.
And, then, the game starts at noon and you keep going. I think I totaled it out. It was like I worked like 22 out of 27, something like that. Some crazy amount of time that I worked over that span.
Jeez.
So we got through these are things that people don't realize. Now, I love what I do, so I wouldn't change anything about it, and I'm happy to do it. I'm not complaining, but yeah, it was a long Friday, Saturday / Frysat. Yeah, it just was like one continuous 48-hour stretch. So there you go. Well,
probably the craziest things I've done were back-to-back Oregon Seahawks games, which I know the TV.
I did a crazy one last year
as well, but I've done it where I was on the road.
Oh gosh!
Like I covered Oregon in 2019. I covered Oregon SC, and then the next morning flew to Seattle for Seahawks something. And I remember going to Washington State once. Oregon Washington State. I can't remember what year that was. And then the next morning, caught a 6:00 flight to Seattle to cover Seahawks in Denver. And I was exhausted, and I took one of those 4-hour energy drinks, whatever.
5-hour energies.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Justin Myers. He would confirm this because I took that bad boy. Woo! I was lucid. There was no reason for me to be. That thing worked big time. Got me through the day. Man, that was crazy. But yeah, sometimes we just have to do that. But at the end of the day, like you said, you love your job and you're covering football and you love football, and so you get through it. But it's not something you'd want to do every weekend. That would burn you out. But yeah.
Do you want to hear the crazy one I pulled last year?
I sure do.
This is a good one. Okay, we did not anticipate talking about this off the start of the pod,
that's
but
what we do. We riff.
It's a funny,
it's a jam
session.
It's a jam
things
session.
that people don't really think about. I covered the Blazers home opener. That was a Friday.
Okay.
So we did that. That was the game where, Ant hit a huge shot against Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So it was a good night. Yeah. And you know what? I was like, I am not going to miss this because I freaking love college game day. So what did I do? I got my butt in the car and drove down to Eugene. I basically stayed up for like 2 or 3 hours up here, got my butt in the car, drove down to Eugene, covered college game day. No, it was against UCLA. Yeah, okay. It was against UCLA. So that started at 5 a.m. So I think I showed up around like 4:30 or so. It rained like crazy. Oh my God. It was so wet. Did that and then covered the game later that night. I did stay down there that night. I have family in Eugene, so I was able to kind of pull that card out and be like, I'm just going to stay with family. But yeah, so I pulled that card out, stayed with family there that night. So I did not drive back from Eugene that night, but it was a lot. But you want to know what? As one of my friends said to me at the time, this is a once in a lifetime experience. Enjoy it. Don't get bogged down in the the little things. So it was fun. It was a good time.
Nice.
So.
Well, two teams that had a good time this past weekend were the Ducks and the Beavers as they rolled over big time underdogs. The Ducks just destroyed my PSU Vikings 81-7. It's just so wrong. PSU offered zero resistance in that game. Although they had one little nice drive early to make it 7-7, but that was all she wrote pretty much. And the Beavers won 42-17 at San Jose State. So let's start with the Ducks since they're the higher rated team, ranked 13th. Oregon State's ranked 16th. Go Beavers. What did you take away from that game, if anything? You were there. I mean, other than the Duck doing 9,000 push-ups. What did you take away from the event? From the Ducks?
My MVP of that game was easily the Duck. Offense looks great. I mean, but also it's hard to judge against a team like Portland State. Let's be completely real here. We know what that game is for, and that game is for that program to get money so that they can continue to be in business. So, this was the result expected. However, 81 points is still crazy no matter what. I mean, they literally had I forget how many possessions they had, but only one they punted, and only one they kicked a field goal. The rest, touchdown. At some point, I mean, they pulled Bo Nix out of the game after the first possession of the second half, and they still kept scoring touchdowns with Ty Thompson, which we were definitely going to talk about because you, my dear friend, that was one of your things you wanted. Ty Thompson and Austin Novosad in. So, I mean, they it's not like, I had somebody reach out to me and they're like, what did you like think of, how the offense did. I forget how it was phrased, but I was like, I think somebody reached out to me and basically asked me if the Ducks ran up the score. And I was like, I don't feel that way because if they ran up the score, they would have had Bo Nix in the fourth or something like that. That didn't happen at all. Like they pulled their big guns out fairly early on. That one defensive possession was a little, that you referenced where Portland State scored was concerning, but they got it together. And they pitched a shutout after that, obviously. So, but yeah, I mean that I've never seen an offensive explosion like that in a game I've been to in my life. So regardless of the opponent, they didn't let off the gas. And I thought that no matter who was in, and I thought that was a really positive sign. So, I mean, it was like we were walking down to the field for the end of the game and we heard the horn go off again for like a score. And I'm like, did they? Because you can't see the field when we're walking down because we have to go around the backside of the stadium to get in. And I was like, did they score again? Like, I was like, what? I didn't think they were going to score again.
Well, it's difficult. It's difficult to call off the Dogs when the other team can't stop the run at all. Right, and leaves receivers just uncovered and wide open. Like, so, look. Unfortunately, fortunately, I've covered many of these types of Oregon games. especially back in the day when they were the juggernaut that they were. And it's hard to come out of them really feeling like you learned anything other than the fact that good Oregon teams obliterate teams in these kind of games. Mediocre, I shouldn't say mediocre. I mean, this world of college football, 8-9 wins is considered mediocre. But teams that are going to win 9, maybe flirt with 10, they still win these games, maybe not as big. So I think you come away saying that even though the opponent was inferior, the Ducks played basically almost a perfect football game, right? And that means something no matter who you're playing against. So I think it's a good sign.
Especially the first game of the season.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you walk away, or I walk away feeling that, they received an A+ regardless of the opponent. They played at an A+ level. If you're playing against a really good team and playing that well, yeah, you're not going to win 81-7, but you're definitely going to be in a position to win that game if you're executing at that level. So, it was good. It was nice for them. It was bad for my Vikings, but they got a payday out of it. And I think one guy lost an ear, or close to lost an ear, according to the final report. Kind of alarming. But, yeah, that's pretty much, what I took out of it. Ty Thompson, I want to see more from him, but they didn't really – I want to see more complicated reads and plays, but they didn't do that. And the throws he had were fine. But I want to see Ty Thompson get in a position where they could open up the playbook and we could see some more complicated plays than what we saw. One of the touchdowns he threw, the dude was completely uncovered. It's like, I can make that throw. So if you're making a throw that I can make right now, yeah, whatever. It doesn't impress me. And I still think that at some point they're going to need Ty Thompson to step up and make some plays in the game, not hand the ball off 4 straight times like he did against Washington. So that was unfortunate that, for me, because I really want to see that. That was probably the only thing I was looking for in this game. But yeah, it was what it was.
Yeah.
And let's shift to the Beavers.
Another, they did what they were supposed to do, which week 1 of college football, you could be a Baylor versus Texas State. So,
or a UCLA versus Coastal Carolina. That was not pretty, but they won.
Yeah, they did win. But yeah, I mean, or you could be a Clemson versus Duke,
Ooh,
So
what was that? Yikes. See, all programs, no matter how good you are, you're going to have a tailspin at some point. Anyway, continue.
Yep. Dabo, my guy.
Except for Alabama.
I should not call him my guy. He's not my guy. Anyways, some ridiculous quotes. We are okay. All right, I'm just. If you know them, you know them. So, anyways, yeah, they came out. They did what they were supposed to do. DJ looked great. It's easy to look great when you have a line like they do. And I said that I was most excited about that offensive line. And boy, did they live up to the billing. Let's go.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
they did. There were some plays where DJ was back there just a dancing and a prancing, waiting for someone to get open with no one near him.
As he said, he could make a sandwich back there. So, yeah, I mean, another pretty solid debut. They played better against them than USC did, I would say. So that's a good barometer. Yeah, I mean, these teams did what they were supposed to do, which makes kind of for not interesting conversation between you and I, but it's a good thing because we don't want to be talking about the opposite situation, to say the least. What did you think of them?
Pretty much the same. They played a better team than Portland State did. Than Oregon did in Portland State. Mm-hmm. So the score wasn't quite as lopsided. And plus, their offenses, they run their offense differently to the point where you're not really sort of built to put up 80 on anyone, really. Yeah. But they dominated the line scrimmage, like you said, and that offensive line is amazing. Martinez, obviously, is in lead back. And, really, the only thing really that I wanted to see was DJ look like a guy who could be the guy. Be that dude. And, had he gone, 15 of 31, for 185 and 2 touchdowns and a pick, then you're like, but he was 20 for 25 with 3 touchdowns, and he rushed for a touchdown, right? If I'm not mistaken. Did he rush for 2? Wait. He rushed for 2, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And,
it's a blur. Anything on Sunday is a blur, okay? After Friday and Saturday, it's all a blur in my brain. Continue.
Right. But when you have a quarterback that big, he can be your goal line back. Not that you need, because Martinez obviously can score from anywhere, but to have that threat of a guy, we're directly snap it to him, and he's going to pick a hole. He can call the run blocking scheme at the line of scrimmage based on what the defense is giving him, and that's going to almost be an automatic touchdown. And if you put too many people in the box and they have you spread out, then you got man-to-man somewhere. He's going to make a play there. So that's going to be a huge weapon for this team. Something that they had it with a backup who was kind of did that role here and there, but having your main guy do that is huge. So yeah, I give him an A. I give the Beavers an A, and good start for both. Can't complain.
Yeah,
I would look for a reason.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's look ahead.
Yes.
To the Ducks, Texas Tech. Real quick, and I'll let you start first, but real quick.
Yeah.
I came into the season with Texas Tech circled as a losable game. After watching them against Wyoming, I changed that. But then the line came out and was only -7 Oregon. And I'm like, if Joe Pesci and the wise guys in Vegas know what's going on, then maybe this is more of a threat than I think it is. What do you think?
I will say it's probably not the result that Dan Lanning wanted. He does not want an angry Texas Tech team going into their first game at home, and that's what they're going to get. They're going to get a team that is not going to be thrilled that they lost to Wyoming. And I think they just got brand new lights at that stadium too, so like everybody's all jazzed up on that because they're going to like flash a bunch of colors and whatever. That's fine. Get through the elements, Yeah, I mean, they shouldn't lose this game. They should dominate this game. Should is the operating word there.
So you're betting and taking the Ducks minus the 7 and 7.5, whatever.
Yeah, I would bet that. I would bet that. From what I saw the other day, plus on Saturday, plus the fact that Texas Tech, lost to Wyoming. Okay. Like, not like it's not like Wyoming right now has Josh Allen there. All right, like they don't have Josh Allen at quarterback. Cool. So embarrassing for them, but I still feel confident that they're going to go down there and take care of business. I know obviously Texas Tech has Tyler Shuck, who's going to come out and be a little. He's gonna have a little chip on his shoulder, as he should. But everybody's been talking about this 6'9" tight end that Texas Tech has, so I am kind of curious to see that guy. But Oregon should take care of business in this game. If they don't take care of business in this game, I am concerned. I will be concerned. So yeah, there you go.
Agreed. If they don't win this game, then it's difficult for me to believe that they're not going to lose at least 2 or 3 in the pack. Probably, yes. I'd probably say 3 or 4, maybe. Well, 3. I'll say 3. But that line is telling because Vegas doesn't set lines for their health.
No,
they set lines to make money, and the fact that after what we saw over the weekend. With Texas Tech losing out of Wyoming and Oregon obliterating Portland State, the fact that they came out at 7.5, instinctually you'd be like, "Oh my God, the Ducks are winning this by 30." They're daring you to make that bet.
Yeah, they are.
They're not, and then it moved to 6.5. That means people were putting money on Texas Tech because it dropped to 6.5. So. Some smart bettors who probably bet for a living saw that 7.5. Like, I'm taking Texas Tech. And then it dropped to 6.5. Didn't go up. If they had bet on the Ducks, dropped. So sometimes week 1 to week 2, a lot of things happen.
Yep.
Right. And what we saw with Oregon, it's like, okay, it was Portland State. But if we go back to last year, they ended last year with what? Again, different, some different players at different positions. We know that, but ended last year barely beating North Carolina, blowing a lead against Oregon State, barely beating Utah, losing a close game to UW, and so those things are getting more weight than the Portland State game. And Texas Tech is at home, so I think what Vegas is saying is believe what your eyes think you're telling you, but this is a closer game than people think. And so I'm fascinated to see what they're going to do in terms of defending Tyler Shuck, who the only quarterback in Ducks history to lead the team to a conference title and then start against them. There's 8 quarterbacks have led this team to a pack title, and Josh are 7 or 8, and I think 7. And Shuck is the only one who's now going to play against them. But anyway, he threw for 336 and 3. He ended last year with a 400-yard passing game against, I think, Oklahoma or something like that. They have good receivers. So this is going to be the first time we're really going to get a test to see if this defense has improved at all. Because if they don't get a pass rush on this guy, if the pass rush is still mediocre, TT's scoring. And they're going to score in the 30s, which means Oregon needs to score high 30s or 40s. And that's where I think they win it, because I don't see Texas Tech stopping Oregon. I just don't believe they're going to stop Oregon. I think Oregon's going to score in the 40s. Texas Tech won't be able to match, but they're going to put up some decent numbers. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
I got the Ducks, but it's going to be scarier than I think most people think based on what we saw last weekend.
Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting, time frame for me, because that's also the same time frame that WSU is playing Wisconsin. So that's it. And I'm going to be down at Oregon State this weekend for the opening of their new stadium. So there's going to be a lot going on around that time frame, to say the least. We'll see if
what? It's at 4:00, right?
4:00, yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll be around the West Side for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I'm all over that.
And that defensive line should, by the way, get a rush on Texas Tech. They are highly experienced. There is no excuses for that defensive line this year. It is, you look down that defensive line roster for the Ducks, and it is name after name after name. Okay, so it's time to be big boys. Get it done. All right, there's no excuses anymore. So I agree with you. This is their game where they get to really show something. I did find it interesting. No sacks against Portland State. Now, I know they were running it a lot, so, that's something to consider. But, yeah, no sacks, which I was like, oh.
And only 5 last year, right?
I don't remember what they had last year.
I think they only allowed 5 last year. All right.
Jeez, it's rough.
Next.
Yes, next.
Oregon State got to avoid the upset loss to UC Davis.
Yeah, everybody knows what the storyline is there, and it's not really about the game, to be completely frank with you, is what it is. I'm more excited about that new stadium opening. The energy in there is going to be, it's going to be awesome, especially with everything that has gone down this offseason. I think that crowd is going to be really fired up to be back home in a new stadium, watching their Beavs. Doesn't really matter who they're playing. I think in this situation, they're going to be pretty amped. So I am excited about that. UC Davis, obviously the Beavers, like the Ducks did, the Beavers should come out and take care of business. All right, it's time to flex on them. Different teams. Davis is like PSU, more of a rushing team. I think they're probably even more so of a rushing team than Portland State is, to be completely frank with you. Whereas, San Jose State was more reliant on the pass. So, a different challenge for them this week. But, like Portland State, we should see a pretty high score next to a pretty low score. That's what this should be.
I agree. This is their Portland State. Take care of business, dominate. If it's even close, that's a red flag. I don't think it will be. I think they destroy. So, it is what it is. Real quick, what do you think? There was some talk after the PSU game from some that's saying that these types of games should be eliminated. I disagree with that. Help out your in-state FCS program, give them some money. And I think having a tune-up game, a team that you can throttle so you can work on some things is good for every major program. I don't have a problem with it. What do you think?
Well, it might be going away for the Ducks, because I believe that the Big Ten doesn't allow teams to play FCS teams.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So I believe I saw that online. So if that is the case, those games might not be happening anyways. We'll see. So
then
happens.
They would just play mid-majors then. So
yeah,
which almost is the same thing. But yeah, I have no problem with those games. All right, this is what I want to talk to the most. We can get through the Ducks and Beavers because we cover them, get them out of the way.
Yeah.
But I want to get to this.
You just bolded it on the outline. I love it.
Prime time, my man. I've been a big primetime guy since he came into the NFL. Actually, since he was at Florida State. I would watch Florida State games, just waiting for him to do something spectacular back in the day. Love me some Dion. Man, that was one of the more interesting victories in a long time. Such a mystery with this team. We knew they accumulated some talent. We knew that his his son was a legit QB and was going to cause some problems. You know, the fact that they won obviously is surprising. TCU lost a bunch of talent. People keep saying, but I don't care. They recruit, don't they? They recruit, so they should still be good, right?
Yeah, you shouldn't
And
be losing to a Colorado team that won 11 last year.
right. Now, it's a completely different team because they brought in 80-something players, but bringing in that many new players and making things work in the opening game, very difficult to pull off. They had 4 guys go for 100 yards receiving, which I think was a record, and Shedeur Sanders threw for 510. That kid is money. He is going to be a problem in the Pac-12, no doubt about it. So, my question for you, Brenna, do you believe? This is what Dion asked Ed Woodard, I think it was, from ESPN. Now, granted, Dion should have let Ed get his question in. That he should have let him get his question in, but I don't have a problem with him. We can talk about that later. Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's just talk about the team right now. We'll get to the press conference later. So I came into the season 4, maybe 5, if everything went right, wins. Now I'm shifting just to 6. I'm not going crazy and having them 8, 9 because the defense was still suspect, but I'm shifting now to 6 because they got that extra win. Mm-hmm. I think this team can become bowl eligible. Where are you on this team?
I think bowl eligible is reasonable. Anything beyond that, you know, I mean, there's going to be hiccups along the way. This is not going to be a perfect team by any means. They should blow the doors off. If they did that to TCU, they should take care of business against good old Nebraska this week. Let's put it that way. Okay, that should be that should be a double-digit win, I would say. You know, so hopefully they aren't. Hopefully those players aren't buying too much into their own hype. I mean, you know, I don't like this. I don't remember Deion Sanders playing football. You know, like I'm a little too young. So, you know, yeah, I think that bowl eligible. So like I don't know as much about the mystique. I mean, I do, but I don't. You know how that is. Like you watched it when you watch it in action. Like it's just different. It's like Michael Jordan. It's just different when you watch in action. I didn't watch MJ in action. I've seen I've seen everything, but it's just different when you watch it actually happen in the moment. But I do know that like all of his like old teammates at NFL Network are like hardcore Deion believers and are like, right. Yeah, he's going to do whatever he wants. That's just like what Deion does. That's who he is as a human being. He's going to win. Like he is a winner. He's going to win. So, you know, maybe people doubted him at his own peril, but right. I mean, yeah, I think bowl eligible is appropriate. I think that's fine. You know, there's like you said, there's gonna be a hiccup. They're gonna lose a game that they should win. That's just what it is. Like it's gonna happen. It's just I feel like it's kind of a little inevitable. But you know, right. if I am wrong, Deion, you have full permission to call me out at a press conference. So there you go.
Well, the thing about Deion as a player is he was a ridiculously elite athlete. Like he was just amazing. His speed, legit 4.2 speed. There's a famous interception he had against an NFC championship game against Dallas, in which Irvin has him beat by like a step and a half. Troy Aikman throws the ball deep, and Deion accelerates past Irvin to get the pick as if he were the receiver. That's how amazing he was. He would let people beat him, air quotes, by a yard or two to make the quarterback think the receiver was open, so the quarterback would throw it, and then he would just accelerate and go get it. But he wasn't just an athlete. He was highly intellectual in his process. He would tell receivers would come out and line up. He would tell them what he's going to run based on the film. So you're about to run a post because he studied them so much. So this is a guy, and he also played offense. So this is a guy who was in tune offensively and defensively. So he brings that knowledge along with his brashness. Also, he's not running the defense. He's not running the offense. He has coordinators, but he's overseeing everything and making sure that it's being done at a high level that he expected of himself. And so that's where, you know, you're going to get a squad that's not going to be overly undisciplined or not beat itself. And it's going to have a structured plan to move forward. So then if you have the talent, you're not going to beat yourself. You have a chance to win a lot of games, especially when you have a quarterback. So that's what we're seeing from this guy. It's not, anyone who makes him out to be, he's just a loudmouth primetime Sanders from back in the day. No, he's not. I mean, he brings some of that with him, but that's not all he is. There's a lot of substance there, but it's just game one. Like, some of the stuff people were saying, it was 45-42. It wasn't 45-10, right? But some of the stuff people were saying after that game was just ridiculously overblown. Let's give the guy time and see if he can get the 6 wins. Let's see what happens when they get in the Pac-12. But to come out and do what they did in game one, amazing. So anyway, because there were a lot of people doubting him, which it was fair. I mean, he revamped the entire roster. He's taking over 1-10 team. He's going up a level. It's fair to question. He took it upon himself to pick out someone from ESPN and ask him, do you believe now? And I read that bull junk you wrote and blah, 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 blah. Now, one, we agree as journalists, he should have let the guy ask his question. He shouldn't have gone on to the next question. I think Deion was caught up in the emotions, and you and I would both agree that's let the guy ask his question.
Yeah.
But I have zero problem whatsoever with a subject like Deion calling out an opinion of someone who covers the team in any fashion, if that opinion was negative and you prove that opinion wrong, as long as it's done, not in some kind of overly aggressive, disrespectful manner, which I don't think he was. He was being brash, but it goes both ways. Because if they go out and lose next week, that same reporter or whatever reporter could say, I don't know if I believe anymore, Deion. And Deion has to take it back the other way because he brought that into the equation. Do you believe? Well, the next week I can come back and say, you know what, Deion, I still don't believe. You just lost to Nebraska. What do you got to say? So if that's the game you want to play, great, play that game, but it goes both ways. So I had no problem with what Deion said. He just should have let the man ask his question.
As a journalist, my number one rule of thumb is don't say something that you would not say to somebody's face. So
100%. 100%. Yep.
Yeah. That is my rule. That is how I operate. So I have to, if I say something, I got to be able to take it. That's just a part of the job. Now, sometimes I'll just kind of take it silently because I think that's the best way to go about it. But that's what you got to do. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going to have an opinion, you got to be able you got to be able to take it. So, yeah, I have no problem with it. I mean, I will say that I think Ed Werder came out afterwards and was like, I don't know what I wrote.
Maybe Deion got him mixed up with someone.
I think Deion might have. Yeah, I think that might have happened. Or, some people were saying, maybe it's something that has been going on for a while, something that was written back in the day when Deion was in the NFL, because Ed Werder doesn't traditionally cover much college football.
Right.
So nobody's found the thing. No one has found the thing that Ed Werder said that pissed Deion Sanders off. So there are two options here. One, he got him confused. Two, this is some sort of weird thing that Deion's been hanging on to for 20 years, and he finally got his moment to hang it over.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Remember that same thing you wrote about me 25 years ago? You believe now? Wait, what?
That's a little much, okay? So I do think the context of the whole situation is just ridiculous. It's everybody just sees it, and they're just like, oh, wow, he went off on this reporter. And it's like, well, actually, when you get into the weeds, it's really weird. Really bizarre that he went off on this one guy who doesn't really write that much anyways, and then doesn't write about college football ever. So, just a bizarre situation. Deion loves a moment. I think we could agree on this, and I think Deion would agree on this too. Deion loves a moment where he can take center stage, and you know what? He definitely took it he took it to that moment. I think context-wise, it's a little bizarre, but that's okay.
Yeah. He's gonna be brash. He's gonna talk. It's just who he is. We'll see how he does when when they lose a game. If they go out and get blasted by Oregon, say 49-20. What's he gonna say then?
I'm so excited for that game.
I know. I took Texas Tech off my losable, but I didn't quite make Colorado losable. I gotta see more. But again, when you have a quarterback, everything's in play. It just is. And that kid is good. Real quick. So when I was covering the Ducks as my primary beat in 2014, they played Michigan State. And my big thing going into that game, home game, was can they run against Michigan State? And they struggled. They didn't run very well until the fourth quarter. Freeman broke a couple runs, and Mario had a huge, long run that sort of got their stats to be sort of respectable. So the following week on our game day show on NBC Sports Northwest, we were talking about that, and then I got a text from Gary Campbell, the running backs coach from Oregon. And I think he was watching the show because he goes, I was wondering what you were going to say about the running game after last week. And I saw it, I'm like, no, he's not. And I texted back, and I'm like, you guys weren't that good at all until the last couple of minutes. And you take away Mariota's run, blah, blah, blah. And he came back at me, and it was just all in good fun. It was just, jousting a little bit. Years later, I'm actually doing a show, and I'd written about how this was 2017 Taggart's first year, and I wrote about how there's no way Oregon's going into Washington and winning with Braxton Burmeister. It's just not going to happen because he had struggled, obviously, already. Taggart texts me while we're filming the show, so he wasn't watching it. It wasn't live. He's like, man, you're really all in on UW. And I go, yeah. And he's like, yeah, some player. I go, oh, you saw my article? He's, yeah, some player came in complaining about you saying this is why I don't like Fentress because he's always dogging us. And I could never get out of him who the player was. But I'm like, I'm not dogging you guys. You have no offense. You have no passing game. You're not going to magically find it in Seattle. And he's like, all right, well, you wait and see. We got some things planned. I'm like, okay, I look forward to it. Nothing personal, but I just don't buy it. That night after the game, they lost 35-6 or whatever it was, and Burmeister couldn't hit anybody. It was everything I said was going to happen, that everyone pretty much knew was going to happen. I texted him. I was like, sorry about that, man. But he goes, man, we just couldn't get anything going. You were right. But coaches are always going to believe they can win in any situation, which is great. That's how you should be. So if you see something like that, your competitive juices are going to get going. But, it was obvious Burmeister wasn't up to it. No, it wasn't his fault. He should have been the fourth string quarterback, but, two guys transferred and Herbert gets hurt and now he's playing. Another situation was John Neal, the defensive backs coach at Oregon. I think it was 2015 when the DBs were horrible and the passing defense was awful. And I just crushed them one night on Talking Ducks. And then I showed up at media session the next day, and John Neal walks up to me and goes, man, you really gave it to us on TV. And I go, my bad. He goes, no, you weren't wrong. I wasn't. So anyway, if you have relationships with people, there can be that back and forth. But yeah, when you get it wrong, they can call you out. And when you're right, you don't want to call. I would never call them out because they're living it. It's their life. They're competitive. So I'm going to be matter of fact. I'm never going to say, ha, I told you. That would be completely out of line and disrespectful. But it's just, when you're being objective, your opinions aren't going to always be positive or negative. You're going to be wherever your opinions take you. And so the subject matter has to respect that. And then if you get it wrong, accept it. Yeah, I got it wrong. I called it wrong. It's cool. You can give me some crap. That's fine. I can take it.
Absolutely. One thing, just does it make you a little, in a weird way, because I know it does for me, does it make you a little sad seeing the Pac-12 do what they did in week 1 and knowing that it's all coming to an end? Because they were the best conference this week, I think.
Yeah, 12-0, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, let's. Someone said this is the deepest it's ever been. I'm like, the 2014 season, I think there might have been one other season that ended with 6 teams ranked. Let's get to that point first. It's still early, but yeah, it is kind of crazy that this is looking like it's going to be a really good conference, really deep conference with a lot of good quarterbacks, and it's just going to get obliterated. And the whole thing's disgusting. It just is on every level. It's ridiculous that TV money is destroying a 100-year-old conference over one sport. It's just pathetic. It's a pathetic. It just speaks so poorly on greed, on capitalism, on a lack of feelings toward tradition and history. It's just stomp on whatever for the buck. That's all it is. And I get people want to make money, but gosh darn it, you have to have some limits to what you're willing to do to make money. And destroying a 100-year-old conference should be at the top of the list of those limits within sports. It's just crazy to me. But yeah, so I'm with you on that. It would be awesome if 2 teams got in the playoffs, which is probably mathematically not going to happen because you're not going to have 2 teams with 1 loss probably. But at least one team needs to get into the playoffs and dominate the bowl games and just make a statement going out that this was a damn good conference that needed more respect than it received from the TV stations.
I am just praying that the Pac-12 doesn't do what the Pac-12 does this year, which is cannibalize itself.
Well, that's the thing. It's going to, though.
Some team has got to rise above, man, because I cannot take another year where the Pac-12 cannibalizes itself and screws itself out of the college football playoff, all right? We got to at least get one team in, especially with this being the last year. It has to happen. For the love of God, somebody pull through. Okay? I cannot take it. Cannot have it. Cannot happen. I don't care who. Honestly, I don't know if I even care who it is.
You need someone to go 12-1 at least.
At least.
Right? And that one obviously better off if it's against a good team. I just don't know. What did USC go last year? USC lost just one, right? Before the conference title game. They lost their second there. I just don't know if there's a team that's complete enough. Like, Washington might have a pretty solid defense. Oregon State's got the defense. We're not sure if their offense is on par with the other ones, although they're going to be really good. So they might be. Oregon State could absolutely be in the mix to do that. But gosh, it just smacks of NFL to me, where there's so much parity, where you just know losses are coming for people, not because they're not good enough, but because they're playing another team that's. We can't even figure out who the top. Like, there's 5 teams we could see winning the conference, right?
Yep.
So you throw all 5 of those teams in a bowl. Is one coming out 4-1? I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating season to say the least. But boy, I mean, I'm really concerned about it.
Yeah, I would love to see one team get to the playoffs. Absolutely, for sure. All right. Okay, before we get to Beyonce, let's talk Blazers, I guess.
You've had a few diatribes on Twitter over the last few days.
Yeah, I know. I just think this whole thing's ridiculous. I don't want to say childish, but there's just a lot of ego and posturing and it's just nonsense. Everyone has a legit argument. I mean, I've never said the Blazers don't have a legit argument for wanting to get what they can get and for even changing gears. Cronin decided Scoot was too good to pass up and the deals out there for him weren't good enough. Fine. Great. I look forward to the Scoot Sharp era. Can't wait to see them win 25 games this year and you guys tank again the last month to try and get a high pick and not have that pick go to the Bulls. Awesome. Looking forward to 3 straight tanking years. Can't wait. But
so much fun for you.
Yeah, I mean,
we love going to losing press conferences.
Well,
so we'll get joy out of.
There's going to be some nice, sharp alley-oops from Scoot and Scoot going to coast and dunking. And it's going to be, oh my God, they're so spectacular. They lost by 17 to Orlando. There's going to be a lot of that because they just don't have the vets or the size or the length. I don't know. Maybe they're going to pull off some miracle deals. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, whatever. So, nothing's happened since the last time we talked about it, which I think we avoided it last 2 times maybe.
Oh, yeah. We haven't talked about it the last few weeks.
Yeah, there's been no movement. There's been no reporting on movement. It's pretty much the same situation. I still believe a deal would get done before camp starts. I just don't buy that they're going to bring him in. It's just... Now, you saw the Mark Spears interview. Did you watch that at all? And when he declined to talk about it, which was it's part of the, the NBA told them to stop talking about it, right? Yeah. So there's part of that. But there's also part of it where, Dame's pissed. Dame's not happy. He wants what he wants. The Blazers want what they want. And because there's been no deadline, everyone's just taking their sweet time. But to me, there's a semi-deadline at training camp. Do you really want to bring this guy to training camp? If he's going to be bitter. I just don't see the value in that. And then you're going to play him? Are you going to play him? Or you're going to hold him hostage? You're going to pay him $8 million a year to not play? Or $8 million a month to not play? Or are you going to play him and risk him getting injured or have him be playing but not really into it because he knows they're not going to be any good and he's wasting his time and wants to be in Miami? Like, it's just all just a sad mess at this point. Well, it's been a sad mess for a while now. Okay, so I guess my only question to you after that diatribe is, do you think the deal gets done before camp?
No, I have not. There has been nothing. I am on the record a few weeks ago saying that I didn't think that. And as you said, nothing has changed. Literally nothing has changed. That's why we haven't talked about it for 3 weeks. So why would I change my opinion now? I mean, yeah. What do you think?
Okay, so sometimes I have feelings and beliefs and predictions based on 100% just my own personal analysis of the situation. Right? We all do that.
Yeah.
There are other times when I feel so strongly about something that I cannot believe that someone else doesn't see the same thing that I'm seeing.
That's very you.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot. But there's even an extreme to that and this is one of those extremes where I just don't see how you bring the guy to camp. I just don't see it. Now, that doesn't mean there aren't legitimate reasons to do so on their end, right? I'm not running an NBA franchise, and I'll always concede the areas where I might have blinders because I'm not in that seat. But I just feel strongly that they need to do right by him, that a legitimate deal can be worked out with Miami, but all the sides need to get together and work it out. And that's a way better option than bringing him into camp, holding him hostage, basically, trying to make him play, risking injury and hoping you can do better at the deadline. Like, how does his value go up at the deadline? He becomes older, and he's not. People, Durant. Well, the Nets had a legit chance to win. So that's one of the reasons why they're like, wait a minute, you and Kyrie want to come here. We did all these things for you guys to get here. You need to go out there and freaking play and win. And they went on a tear for a minute there. And then Kyrie bails out. So that's why Durant finally said, okay, well, and that's why, okay, well, we're about to go into tank mode now. We're not going to be very, not tank mode, but we're not going to be very good. So, okay, we'll move you. The Blazers know right now they're not going to be very good. If they think they're going to be very, very good, then that means everything they said during the exit interviews were lies, because they told us they needed experience, they needed another star, and they needed more length.
Height.
Height and length, right? Did they get more experience? No. Did they get another star? No. Did they get add more length? And no. So they didn't do the three things. As a matter of fact, they got smaller and they got younger.
Yep.
And they got less experience and worse as a shooting team by one draft pick, Scoot Henderson, who may be great someday, but today is not that day. So you know you're going to lose. Dane doesn't want to lose anymore. Hook the guy up, send him to Miami. 4 firsts, take the 2 youngsters, some salary matching, you're golden. Trade those picks down the line for someone else, or hope they're going to and get some swaps. Hope that by 28, 29, 30, those all 3 be lottery picks, or maybe 1 or 2. That's where I would go. We've talked about this before. I know you don't agree, and that's fine, but that's where I am still.
Yeah, I mean the problem with this team right now, just generally, is that this whole Damian Lillard trade saga has completely handicapped them in any sort of direction.
Right.
And because nobody wants to sign with the Blazers right now because they don't know what's going to happen with Damian. And the Blazers don't want to sign anybody right now probably because they don't know what they're going to get for Damian. Exactly. So it's a whole hot mess. I mean, they have not signed anyone who played in the NBA last year that they didn't have the rights to. I mean, I guess Jeremy Grant, but that was kind of, that didn't already play for them. Okay.
They got the center. The center they got didn't play. I can't remember his name. I wrote about it. It's Brown, right?
Sorry, who?
Moses Brown.
Moses Brown. You want to know what? I think Moses Brown did play. I think you're correct there. But
I'm checking right now.
Yeah, you check right now. You check.
Yes, he played 2 games with the Nets and 34 with the Clippers. So he played 36 games, 8 minutes per game.
Okay.
Averaging 4 points and 4 rebounds. He's a 7-footer. So okay. So they added some length. I digress.
I will.
Take back what I said.
Take it back a little bit, but at the same point in time, this is not what they were aiming for. Okay,
No,
let's put it that way. I think that's safe to say. This is
right.
not what they had. This is not the idea they had of their off season when they were sitting in exit interviews. Okay. So yes, I guess I was incorrect about Moses Brown. I did, I think I might have been actually on vacation when they signed him. So that might be my fault. Anyways. Yeah. Regardless, that was not the kind of signing that they were looking for, and there hasn't really been. It's not a big name, Everybody else that they've signed has been like, okay, like So it's like I said, they also didn't expect when they were doing exit interviews that Dame was going to ask out. So.
But they knew that it was a high likelihood that he would ask out if they didn't trade the pick.
Yes. No, I agree with that.
Right.
So it's an off season of a lot of questions and not a lot of answers for everyone involved. And those questions are probably, in my estimation, might persist for a little bit. So we'll see how it goes.
Okay, so I'm just going to continue to believe that all the parties involved will figure it out, and Damian will not be at training camp in Santa Barbara, because I would prefer to not have to deal with that madness. Well, I lie. That'd be great theater. I probably would actually kind of like to see it kind of play out. It's a win-win. It's a win-win either way for me. If I don't have to deal with it,
it's all about Aaron's wants and needs.
Of course. So. Oh yeah. It's always about me. It's always about me. But you believe it's not going to happen. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Whatever. Looking for your support, but that's okay. All right, let's get our final topic here. Last week we talked about you and our good pal Lindsay Schnell going to see Beyonce in concert, either in Canada or Seattle. And there was like, if we go to Canada, stay overnight, but the tickets are cheaper. We'll go to Seattle, it's more expensive. Drive back that night, or do you stay? Blah, blah, blah. I then offered to maybe, if you guys go to Seattle, then me and my daughter would go, which I think completely made you guys go, ew, we don't want a middle-aged guy singing, okay, ladies, now let's get information in the middle of a concert and embarrassing us. trying to act like he's our chaperone or something. So I think you guys are going to Canada, which is fine. I'm not even going to take it personally. I understand. Where are you headed?
I still need to get this cleared with work, so I don't think it's going to be a problem. But we're going to Seattle.
You are? How come you didn't tell me? Did you buy tickets already?
No, we haven't bought tickets. So
are we still invited?
We discussed that it might end up being cheaper if Lindsay and I did our own thing and you and Taryn did your own thing, because obviously 4 tickets together is going to be harder to find than 2. We did discuss this. So.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah, I think it'll probably be that. So we're having a real time conversation right here with Aaron. But have you and Taryn decided you're going?
I just mentioned it, but I was waiting on you guys.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Yeah, so, I think we finally came to the conclusion like 2 days ago. That seems about right to me. Yeah, I think it was about 2 days ago. So
gotcha.
In fact, I forgot to respond to her yesterday when she texted me something about it. Sorry, Lindsay. I was on my way to a shoot. It's okay. All she did was send me a pair of shoes that she thought she might buy for the concert. So I think that she's fine that I didn't respond to her in that context.
She's gonna buy shoes to wear to the concert, special Beyonce shoes.
No, I think she wanted them. I think she was thinking about wearing them to the concert because they were Birkenstocks. So I was like, okay, You just want to be comfortable, like, which I totally understand, because I'm gonna wear some rhinestone sneakers. So there you go. She was like, no heels, Brenna, and I go, dude, do you know who you're talking to? I wear heels maybe once a year, maybe, and I'm for sure not wearing heels to a Beyonce concert that I'm going to be standing and screaming and dancing at the whole time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No way.
Now, do you ever wear the sneaker shoe heels?
I do have a pair.
Or what are those called? They're not called heels.
Wedges.
Are they wedges?
They're kind of wedges.
But they fit like a heel, but they look like a sneaker.
Yeah. I do
Those are
have
kinda
one
cool.
pair of shoes that are like that I wear every once in a while. I like them.
But you wouldn't wear those to a concert.
No.
Because that's got to get old after a while, standing like that, right? I don't know how y'all do it.
I don't do it. Have you seen my sneaker collection? Yeah, that's what I rock in. I will wear boots with heels in them. I will do that. Those are more comfortable though than actual heels, because they've got some support, in there. So I've got some boots with heels, stuff like that. But over the last 2 years, I have mostly shifted to wearing sneakers almost full time. In fact, I may have gone a little hog wild at the Nike employee store on Sunday morning. Whoopsies. Whatever. But I'm not gonna. I'm trying to think. When was the last time I wore a pair of heels? I think it might have been maybe Christmas Eve Mass. I wore a pair of heels. That might be it. But I don't even know. I might have worn heeled boots then. So there you go. Not up my
All right. So you and Lindsay are going next week?
Yes.
That's next week, right? Oh.
Yeah, next Thursday.
Okay.
It's going to be a late night.
What time does the show start?
I'm not sure. But I know it's going to be a late night no matter what. So buckle up.
No kidding.
Let us know if you decide to go.
Yes, I'll talk to my daughter tonight about it.
Okay.
It's not sold out. It's not even close to sold out, is it?
I'm not sure. I think we're probably going to get resale tickets, so I'm not sure.
It's ridiculous. All right. Well, that's it for the Blazers for the Sports by Northwest podcast. Oh, one final thing. Your prediction. Let's get your prediction for Colorado, Nebraska.
Ooh, Colorado, Nebraska.
Does Nebraska bring Colorado back to earth with that running game? Test their front seven?
35-21. Colorado.
Colorado? Okay. Colorado keeps going. We hear more prime time talking trash afterwards. Sounds good. All right. That's it for the sports.
I just had to do a prediction. What's your prediction?
Oh, sorry. I agree. Right around there. I think Colorado wins.
Okay.
So we're in agreement.
Okay. All right.
Okay. That's the end of the Sports by Northwest podcast. We talked about the Ducks, the Beavers, the Blazers, prime time, Beyonce. That's a hell of a eclectic list there. Please click that subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating. We'd appreciate it. And we'll be back next week.